Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Light Sprinkler Action. I'm Bo Condon with RL Productions. I've got Bob Carr with TLC over there.
Hey, Bo!
Howdy, sweetheart. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Look, I'm really glad to have you, as always, on the show. But we got a special guest with us today over in Graydon's normal chair. We've got Jim from Complete Canine. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, guys. Good morning. Thank you for having me today. Good morning, Mr. Bob.
How are you, Jim?
I'm doing wonderful, brother.
Good to see you again.
Thank you. You as well.
So we're going to talk with Jim today. Holidays with pets.
Light sprinklers action or light sprinkler action? I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lights, Sprinklers, Action!
Just hit the button, the whole system goes dead.
I was not alive in 2010.
That was the intro song to like Madden 09.
I put a drone in a lot of places.
Holidays are upon us, as Bob would always say in one of our ad videos. Dealing the holidays with your pets can be a real challenge. I know for myself, we have lots of cats. We used to have our dog Trooper, who loved people. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us. But the cats, they tend to be easy. They're like, oh, y'all are having people over today? Deuces. Like, they're gone. They hide. They don't try and get into trouble. Towards the party, the ones that are like social will eventually come out. But real easy to have people over with cats, because for the most part, they don't want anything to do with that nonsense. For you, Bob, how do you handle having a bunch of people over and Chase wanting to just love all up on everybody that comes through the door? Or maybe not.
Well, I think that boils down to if they're dog people or not. You know, that can be really challenging if they're not dog people and or they have cats and a female cat, and Chase gets all crazy. But again, he's just doing his dog thing. So it is a challenge, but something you work through. But I think when you were saying that, I think pets, and Jim could tell us a little bit more about this, I think they get stressed during the holidays too.
They absolutely do. And another thing that I've seen over the years that adds to that stress is when there's drinking. You know, people are partying, people are drinking, people do things that they might normally wouldn't do. You know, getting in the dog's face, grabbing the dog, trying to hold on to the dog, things like that.
Think they're funny, but they're agitating the dog.
Absolutely.
And you can imagine if that's a stranger.
Yeah.
Doing it to the dog.
You're setting yourself up for a problem.
Someone could get bitten.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I recommend when you are going to have a lot of people over, just put the dog away. Put the dog up.
Sometimes that's what we'll do for Chase, and it's so much happier.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, if you're bringing a bunch of people into their environment, then you're going to expect them to possibly behave differently than what you normally expect of them. For me, for instance, my dogs are on my couch, they're on my bed. I live alone, but when I have people over, you know, I've got to remind the dogs that, no, you can't just jump on top of them because they're sitting on the couch, things like that.
Nonsense.
So a lot of times, like if I've got a bunch of people coming over, I'll just put my dogs up.
I was going to say, you probably put them in a crate, right?
I do. One of my dogs, well, I have a young dog. I have a 9-month-old puppy. She'll go in the crate, and my older dog will just go into my bedroom.
See, you know, I say that with respect back because a lot of people wouldn't do that, and because whoever is over, they say, "Oh, I want to see your dog," you know, blah blah blah. You got a new dog, right? Well, the dog is all in fear could be of this person, and that's going on, and then they don't realize what they're doing, and the dog, you know, it all does make a bad scene.
Yep.
And all that leads to is a confrontation, which it could end badly.
Absolutely. You've got to advocate for your dog. You've got to advocate for them.
Because you always hear the story of someone getting bitten, you know, and then and God forbid if it's a small child. They're the ones you feel for because they're in the middle with mom and dad and the dog owner, and they end up getting bitten, and they're trying to pet, and it's like that's a bad scene.
And they're much closer to that dog,
Yep.
so it tends not to be hands and feet. It tends more to be faces.
That can be
When
very
it comes
dangerous.
to children, absolutely.
Well, and you had mentioned, you know, you're expecting the dog to behave differently when you have guests over. You know, humans, we have this advanced thinking of, all right, we're hosting people today. We're going to be cordial. We're going to, you know, make sure that they use the right hand towels and the special soap that no one else is allowed to use in the house and those kind of things. dogs don't have that mindset. They are animals. They operate, based on what
You're in your
territory
space.
is
Yeah.
theirs. So when people come into their house, they're invading their territory. They're in their space. And it's only natural for them to behave differently because you're new, you're in the space, you've brought all of these new scents that people don't realize that they wear on them, no matter how much perfume you try to cover it with. You have your cat smells like you were talking about, and that's just so stressful for those animals, and most humans don't think like that.
Absolutely. One thing that I do recommend people doing if they are going to have some people over and they're going to leave their dog out is to meet outside. Meet outside before they walk in. So you're walking in, you meet the dog in neutral territory, and then when you walk into the house, now all of a sudden it's not a stranger walking in, it's somebody that I've met,
Plus
somebody
you
that's
told
been
these
invited
people.
in.
Plus, you told the guest. Hold on one second. We'll go down a little rabbit hole. So when you go out there and meet, like if you're over at my house or come over to your house in Crofton, we're out there meeting and talking, and it's also that's a big advantage now to your guests. Let's say your guest is not a dog person, him or her. Now you're telling them, but they want to come over, and you're telling them, how to do this. Not that's a whole lot better than them come in the front door, and then the dog's at a way disadvantage. He don't know,
Right.
or she doesn't know. But now you're telling them, and you're bringing them in together.
Exactly.
So that's got to be a whole lot less stressful for everybody.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, that goes with other dogs, too. So, if you're going to somebody coming over with another dog, you don't want to just bring that dog into your house. Now, there are a lot of friendly dogs that just wouldn't care, but why chance it?
Right.
Because a lot of them aren't going to be okay with it. But, again, same thing. If your dog is dog-friendly, just go meet outside, do the introduction there, and then come into the house.
That way, there is a little something. It's not getting busted up in the house. People are going around.
Yep.
It's a lot easier in it.
And they're just on
absolutely.
a more neutral territory, right?
Exactly, yes.
Even though that yard is still theirs, it's a more neutralized zone. It's
Than
not
in the
like they're
house.
coming into
Yeah.
their sleeping den.
Right. It's not a confined space that the
Yeah.
dog feels like they may need to protect.
Right. And I mean, that's a big thing too, like confined space. When there's that many people in the house, you're going to have a dog act completely different, from a claustrophobia standpoint, like of how humans react when they're in a crowded space. Dogs are going to feel those kind of same feelings.
Right. Not to mention, and we're talking about holiday parties, so chances are at least 5 of those people in your house are going to be giving that dog something to eat off of their plate. Even 5 minutes after you told them, don't feed my dog, they're still going to do it. So, you run the risk of the dog eating something that they shouldn't eat as
have.
well. Yeah.
That was my next question. I was going to ask you how many pets, cats, dogs, whatever, end up getting sick during the holidays. That too, but just in general, they eat, mistletoe, poinsettias. You always hear this. I don't know how much truth that is. What they can get in trouble with. Innocently eaten over the holidays. It's, decoration. We take it like, oh, that's great. If the dog ingests it by accident, picks up a leaf off the floor, it can end up in the emergency room, I take it.
Absolutely. And yes, poinsettias are very poisonous to dogs.
Are they?
Yes, they are.
Okay. I've always heard that, but I don't know how much truth there was to that.
Yep.
So we think that's all nice, taking that to grandma's house, but when we leave, that dog could be picking that leaf off the ground, eating it, and getting sick.
Absolutely.
Grandma's going to be calling you saying, hey, you want to pay my vet bill?
Yep. And not to mention that chocolate too, Bob. Chocolate is very, very toxic to dogs. And
Cats?
holiday time.
Cats same?
I don't know. I'm not real familiar with.
But dogs for
my
sure.
understanding, chocolate is still poisonous to cats, not nearly on the level as dogs. But poinsettias are the same for both cats and dogs for poisonous.
I've always heard that with cats,
Yeah.
it could kill them or get them in the emergency room, which is shameful because they're picking up something they have no idea about.
Yeah.
And that's something we introduce, which is wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like Bob read the questions to the podcast, huh? He knew. He just jumped right
I'm
in.
getting smarter. I looked over
prepared.
your shoulder last night.
Well, it's the French beret. It's nice and loose on his head. It makes him feel good.
Give me a hard time, Jim.
So that was one of our questions: the dangers of poinsettias in food poisoning. But outside of that, say we're not the one hosting the party, right? Like we've covered pretty well what to do in the event that you are hosting. What if you're the one traveling for the holidays? What do you recommend if you're someone traveling with your pets, either to a relative's house or to a vacation home, a Verbo? What are your recommendations in that regard?
Well, you are talking to somebody that takes his dogs everywhere.
Respect.
I typically drive across country at least twice a year, and my dogs are with me. Do a little research beforehand. Make sure that the hotels that you're going to be staying at are dog friendly. That's number one. Especially if I've gone sometimes and didn't make reservations, and then trying to find a place last minute has been a nightmare.
Right.
So make sure, like I said, where you're staying is dog friendly. Luckily, like Wyndham Resorts is usually where I stay, which is Holiday Inn, I believe. There's quite a few big names, and a lot of these hotels are very dog friendly now.
Right.
If you are going to, like you're going to family's house in another state, one thing that people can do is find a boarding facility nearby, somewhere that you can take your dog and you can stop in every day to see them. Don't put them in play groups. Just, again, stop. Have a place for them to sleep. If they can't stay where you're at, the other option is just if the people that you're going to stay with are okay, bring a crate with you. Make sure you have a safe place to put that dog, if you're out with a bunch of people or a bunch of people over at the house. Because now you're in somebody else's house with your dog. Your dog's not going to know what the rules are in that house.
Right.
So my dogs are leashed. When they're out of their crate, they're on a leash 24 hours a day. If I'm not home. And then I'll just find somewhere local to take them, go run them 2 or 3 times a day, and, keep getting their normal exercise. But, just having that little bit of a plan ahead will save you a lot of headaches.
Plus, if they're out of their environment, they'd like to be in their crate because that's their safe spot.
Yes, sir.
Right.
If you've done your job right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The dog will go in there at night even if you don't shut the door. It feels safe in there, and nothing's going to come and get it.
Yeah.
And that's a lot psychological goes on. And they're happy when they come back out the next morning.
And keeping kids' fingers out of the dog's crate, because that's an invasion of their personal space.
Yes,
and
I've
their
seen
safe
many
space.
fingers bit over the years, but that's
Yeah.
a great point.
Yeah, that's really good. I didn't
Throw a
think about
sheet
that.
over it. Throw a
Yeah.
sheet over it, put it in a room, lock the door if you can, and just have the conversation. You guys, please just leave the dog alone.
Yeah. No, that's
Make sure your children know not to be putting their fingers in there. And, 'cause if people don't have dogs themselves, that's all new to them.
Right.
We all know because we're all dog lovers and have pets. But some people don't.
Yeah.
They'll be like, I didn't know, I'm sorry. And you're like, well, I should have said something to you.
And backtracking a little bit, you said something like play groups. Did you mean like a doggy daycare kind of
Yes.
facility?
I am not a big fan of doggy daycares. Now, that's not to say there aren't some great ones out there. But again, in my experience, when you're taking 30, 40 dogs and putting them in a room together, you're just asking for
Appetite for
problems.
destruction.
And some of those people that say it's okay, they'll bring their dog over, and that dog has no manners, no nothing, and then all of a sudden you got a big fight going on.
Yeah.
And you and I've had that experience before. I've been part of it, and it's like all those leashes get tangled. It's a mess.
Yeah.
You schooled me on that before. I remember one time I did it, and you're like, Bobby, what are you doing? And I'm like, what? I got this. And you're like, you don't have control of that dog. And I was like, yeah, I learned a good lesson. So it can happen.
Absolutely, and it happens quick. There are. I wish I had the numbers with me, but there are so many bites that happen throughout. You just don't hear about it because most of them aren't really bad. But it doesn't take a lot of them to.
Oh yeah, and especially the small children.
Yeah.
They're the ones I fear for.
Yeah.
We're talking about they're close to the ground. They go out in front of the dog. The dog doesn't know what's going on. It hits back, and a dog, 50, 60, 100 pounds, hitting a 15, 20-year-old, a 20-pound child.
No, absolutely.
So
Well,
just telling the kid, "Don't touch your dog." They're all they're going to want to do, as is go
Pet.
touch your dog.
Sure.
Have the conversation with them. Explain it. Again, you should. If your dog's not friendly, you shouldn't be taking him to other people's houses.
Right.
That's true.
Do the introductions properly. Go outside, give the kids some treats, show them how to properly treat the dog, show them how to properly pet the dog. You don't ever want to walk up and put your hand over top of a dog's head.
That's a big no-no. That dog's going to reach out. He's going to defend himself.
Well, you can't see where your hand's going and
Yeah.
and why it's going there.
Us as people, we feel the same way. Someone comes up behind you, blind you,
Yeah.
right? You're going to reach back.
Yeah.
And that dog, more likely, is going to be outweigh that child a lot. And boom.
And there's a big misconception that you're supposed to put your hand out so the dog can smell you. Bob, we're sitting, 15 feet away. If I had my dog with me, we walked in here, she can smell you as soon as we walk in a room.
Right.
She knows.
You don't need to put your hand out. I never quite understood that. It's like, so they can smell me to know that I'm okay. How is smelling you going to let that dog know that you're okay?
Most of the time, if I smell people, I can figure out that they are.
They're probably not.
Well, that dog, back to what you said, that dog's picking up a whole lot more than just a scent.
Yes.
The dog knows you're friendly or not. It's not just the smell. It's a lot of your makeup and your mannerisms, what you're doing, your voice tone.
Body language is
Dogs are smart, but there's a lot more factors than just your smell.
absolutely.
We growing up, we had a pack. We call them our packs because we would just growing up have different groups of rescues that we all rescued at similar times. So we had the Fab Five, which this pack was all wonderful dogs, but there were essentially three that, depending on the event, might be a little questionable, either around kids or around my friends, very gregarious teenagers and things like that. Never overly aggressive, but like will bark at you and make you uncomfortable. We had this little. She was like, it looked like a miniature golden retriever, but definitely had like some cattle dog in her, and my one friend was always kind of nervous around her, and she picked up on that energy and loved to torment the hell out of him. She'd nip at his ankles, wouldn't mess with anybody else, but would nip at his ankles because he was nervous the second he'd come in the door. But she fed off of that energy, and that's people
And
don't
they're
understand how they get that.
opportunists, and I was always taught that dogs are always looking to stage a coup, so just be ready.
One of our questions we had, are there benefits to kennel use or boarding, a much better term? Are there benefits to boarding versus, say, bringing your pets to your Aunt Edna's house for the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want to make sure where you're boarding your dogs you trust, but holidays are stressful enough as it is. Not having a dog with you is going to make life a lot easier.
A lot easier for us and the dog.
Yes.
Right.
Not having to navigate all of that.
I know Chase,
so.
he loves to go where he goes now for the weekend when we travel, and he's much happier. He's happy when he gets there. He wants to pull in and go in and get in his cage, and when we pick him up, he's just as happy coming the other way.
Right.
So to him, it's like a vacation, but he's in a safe place. People, he gets along with everybody. And guess what? It's one less thing we have to worry about. Because when you're traveling, right, you got to get out, make sure he goes to the bathroom, feed him. You're in someone else's house or traveling. It's a lot of stress goes on with that.
Right.
For everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. My trip to Oklahoma is an 18-hour drive. It typically takes me 24 to 26 when you factor in feeding, walking, because you still have to exercise your dog just because you're on the road.
Sure.
So, making all those stops. Now, it's my life. It's, it's what I do for a living. So,
Right.
But, if that's not your everyday thing, you're just adding one more thing on both you and the dog. So, yes, if you can have a great boarding facility that you can take your dog to, or you have a friend or family member that can stay with your dog, which is ideal.
A lot of people do that too.
Absolutely.
Which is okay.
Oh, absolutely. That's the route I go. If I can't take my dog somewhere for some reason, I've got somebody that'll come stay in my apartment. Somebody that I trust, knows how to handle my dogs, knows exactly what I want.
Dogs
and I
know
don't
them.
ever have to
It's
worry
all
about it.
good, isn't it?
Yep.
It works out well.
So, in regards to training, obviously Complete Canine, wonderful work that you and your team do.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate everything that you do as well. How can proper training reduce the stress that dogs may feel during the holidays?
Well, with training, you're eliminating confusion. So when you give the dog a simple command, it's not trying to have to navigate figuring out what you want. The other thing that you're doing is you are putting the dog in different situations, so the dog is becoming desensitized to new things. Typically when I start training, I want to do it with as little distraction as possible, so the dog can learn exactly what I want. I tell my students all the time, the biggest difference between basic obedience and advanced obedience is not what the dog is doing, but it's what's surrounding the dog. So, for instance, Bob, does your dog know sit?
Absolutely.
Would your dog know sit if you had 20, 30 people running around a circle around him?
Now he does after training with you.
Right. But
Trick
you
question.
understand my point, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I get it.
So
So I've watched how you do that before, and the distractions, that's what separates the mans from the boys. When
Yes.
he'll do it, I don't care what's going on around him. He just know it's almost like a muscle memory is like, I'm sitting down.
Correct.
Last night, him and I were doing something, and I said, sit. He looked at me. Down he went, all 120 pounds. Looked up at me, didn't move. But that comes from training and in a loud environment also, because he's got to be able to do that in a loud environment.
Absolutely.
Because that's going to separate it, or he can run out and get in traffic.
Yep.
You taught me that every year. So, hey, let's go up here. Jim, we're close to a road. I don't want to do that. Bobby, he has to have that because he'll do it. He needs to know that, so if that ever happens, he's trained that that won't happen.
For it. Correct.
You know?
Correct.
And you've done that with loud noises, gunshots. You've done with training with the bicycle. You put him in those positions so he understands it. It's like when you take him to the store, take him to the mall, take him on the train, a bus. You've done all that with him over the years. And you and I both taken him to stores, so he's used to people. People come up to him and he's just looking ahead. I took him in the bank the other day. I always tell the story. I said, you don't move when we go in this bank if you want to get out of the truck. He goes in the bank and just looks straight ahead. People coming up to him, eyes doesn't come off. But that comes from a lot of training.
Absolutely.
But he loves that. Like you always said, they want to stay. They want to be a command.
Oh yeah, if they know exactly what's expected of them, the level of anxiety that they could have being somewhere is going to drop significantly.
Drops way down.
Yeah.
So you think you're being mean at first. When you first taught me that, I said, Jim, I don't want to do that. And pull on a little bit. And you said, Bobby, just do that. And I watched it, and you start doing it, and now he loves it. I can walk in the bank. I will have him on the leash, but I can walk him in the bank right now. Thanks for you and everybody, and he's alongside of me. And he doesn't look at anybody. People can be talking to me, he's looking ahead.
Yep. And when you get to that level of training where you're taking your dog to the bank or to the store or, places that there aren't a whole lot of dogs, yeah, you need to, your dog needs to know what's expected of them. And it's get in and get out, do what we've got to do. Don't interact with people. Let's just, I do a lot of training with service dogs, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And for instance, like talking about getting them used to things, I can't tell you how many movies I paid for and then immediately had to walk out because the dog just wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
But you can't just go in and say, okay, the dog's stressed out in the movies, we'll just deal with it, because now the dog's going to resent it and he's not going to be comfortable with it.
Never go back in that theater in a dark room. And that could affect a lot.
Correct.
Just because we think it's going to be cute, let's take the little dog.
Yep. I guess another example would be I play bass in a worship band, and taking my dog to church, she's with me. Again, she's a service dog, so she's with me 99% of the time. I wouldn't just take her in and put her on stage and start playing live, loud music. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I got her comfortable with the church when nobody was there first. So now she's comfortable with the environment. I sit at home, she's comfortable with me playing the bass, so she knows my movement. And then the last thing is just adding in a dark room with, louder music. And, it's to the point now where she lays down and sleeps the entire time.
But you layered it in over a period of time.
Correct.
You just couldn't take her to a loud rock concert and expect her to behave.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people will do is they'll try something with their dog one time, the dog won't do well, and the dog just can't do it. It's
Way
most
into
of
your
these things.
expectations, yeah.
Two things dogs come hardwired up with are how to reproduce and how to fight. I won't say how I was taught that. It's a little easier to remember. I'm sure you can figure it out, but
They both start with the letter F.
that's correct. Everything else is learned. We're expecting them to live in a human world, and they've got the mentality. A grown dog has about the brain capacity of a 3-year-old child, which we know they're very, very smart, but they don't. Controlling their emotions is not something that comes natural. So repetition, patience, and understanding when to walk away versus when to push through is going to be very important.
Although sometimes I think dogs have more common sense than people.
I'm not going to disagree
More
with that.
better
at all,
rationale,
brother.
at least. Yeah, I was very excited when we got Trooper. I was very excited to, in the spring, have you start working with him. This was back in 2022. He had idiopathic epilepsy, so unfortunately, he passed away very young.
I'm sorry to hear that, brother.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a really, really rough one. But he did get to have Christmas with us. We got him kind of right before Thanksgiving, and he made it through Christmas, and then in January is when we lost him. But having him at Christmas was kind of bringing this full circle, where I was like, he does great, but gosh, if I got him with Jim just a little bit to really like give him that reform, like it would be so much better. He waited all day with those with the tray tables of snacks and everything, just staring at it like, I'm gonna get a cracker. I'm gonna do it. I'm not doing it yet, but I'm gonna. I mean, literally like 5 hours this dog waited, and then finally got himself one. Save that as a screen grab. Got himself one, and I was like, no, you can't, don't do that. But it was, he did so well and with the kids and things like that, but I could tell how stressed he was with things, and at that time we didn't know what triggered his seizures, but like, here I was being a dumb owner, and I was like, but I want him to be a part of everything. Retrospect, I'm glad I did, rather than locking him away. But I knew how much he was going to benefit from everything that you all do at Complete Canine, because it is like you said, if you can just get them to understand their expectations, if you can just get them to be comfortable in that environment that you're bringing them to, you reduce so much stress for yourself, the animal themselves, and obviously for everyone in the room.
Absolutely.
Mr. Jim, what you have new going on there up at your shop?
So a couple really cool things I'm super excited about. Best Life Canine is a friend of mine. Her name is Marla Wilkinson. Both her and her husband have been doing human PT for years. And several years back, Marla got involved with doing canine fitness, getting the dogs working in an underwater treadmill, which is a big clear box, and the dog gets in. The ground, so you get them comfortable with the treadmill, and then it slowly fills up with water. You do that for rehabilitation after a surgery, or just sport dogs. It's a great way to exercise a dog. You have a swimmer. Chase would probably love doing it.
Love that tank.
But we now have one of those at Complete Canine. So again, it's Best Life Canine is inside of Complete Canine.
And we got to make sure everybody gets some. I know I've got some videos of it, but make sure we get some of this in the link in the bottom of this video to show people.
Yes, I will reach out to Marla and get that to you guys.
That setup they have there is incredible. I mean, I could put a small poodle in there,
Yep.
a 5-pound poodle, or I could put a
280-pound
180-pound
Mastiff.
Yeah, in there, and that's because you can adjust it, and then the water's recycled, cleaned for the next pet.
It's like pool water. Yes,
Yeah.
it drains out and goes back into these big tanks,
Yep.
and then in the tanks they're
All filtered out.
filtered out.
It's an amazing system.
Yeah, it's a $60,000-$70,000 treadmill. It's no joke, but it's the benefits to the dogs is absolutely
You can't
amazing.
even put a number on that, the benefits, especially on a bigger dog like that, and you're trying to fix them, and the things that you guys helped already in a short period of time up there is amazing.
Well, thank you.
You know?
Thank you. Well, I know a lot of people are driving, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, because there's only 2 in the area, 3 now with us. But it's either you go 30 minutes this way, an hour that way, or you come here. So
Guilty.
So we're thrilled.
we had to do that for our dog Buddy. He had elbow dysplasia and bullet shrapnel in his rear legs, and he had to go through PT for all of that. But we had to drive. My mom had to take him really far.
Yep.
Oh, that's him right there.
Right on. Right on. So yeah, we've got that going on, which has been wonderful. I think she officially opens either the first week in December or the second week, just depending on how everything goes. But everything has been set up. The construction's finished and she's ready to go. We're also doing a day school program now with Kirsten Tolley of Free State Canine as a peer of mine. We've been friends for about 25 years. So she's running a day train program. So whether you are actively training and just need a little help, or you're new to training, you're going to be involved, but you just want to jumpstart. It's been very, very beneficial. And of course, you guys know Taylor. Taylor's running.
Taylor's amazing.
She's awesome.
Talking about patience,
Yes.
that woman's got a lot of patience.
Yes, she
with
is.
people and dogs. So sometimes I'll be up here on Saturdays, and she has her hands full more with the owners than the dog. I watched it the other day, and I was ready to yank this lady, like, will you listen to Taylor? And Taylor calmly did it, and then the dog finally sat, with the leash pulled, and I'm like, lady, you're your worst enemy. But obviously I didn't say that, but she's got a lot of patience.
And it's been amazing to watch her grow as a trainer. She came in with a reactive aggressive dog, and she was 2 people in her class, and I seen her typically 3 times a week. And that was 3.5, 4 years ago. And as you know now, right, she's teaching these big classes. She's actually teaching one of the more difficult classes, the reactive dog class. So it's become a passion of hers. And I couldn't be prouder. Absolutely.
Lucky to have somebody like that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Because I've seen it reverse, not at your place, but other places where the trainer, the teacher, the coach, whatever you want to call, is rough with somebody, and then they don't go back.
Right.
Because they're already getting embarrassed, and she doesn't embarrass anybody.
No. Well, and Bob, as a small business owner yourself, your reputation and your name is everything.
Oh, yeah.
So having people behind you, I've got my puppy in her class right now because
That says it all right there.
Yeah, I wouldn't go anywhere else.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. As someone who has hired a genius to become a business partner, awesome, that beautiful person. I love hearing that full circle because it's nice when a plan comes together, especially when it was unplanned.
Let's give a clap for Austin.
One clap. Oh, look at him using the one clap.
You don't like when I did 2 claps.
Well, he did 2 claps last episode.
He's buying into it.
But we all appreciate you, Mr. Austin.
He's
Thank
beginning
you.
to
I appreciate
believe. Sorry, I talked over the one time you talk.
Took your thunder.
I'm a jerk. Well, Jim, thank you so much again for being on Light Sprinklers Action. We really appreciate your time.
It's such a pleasure, man. I can't tell you guys how much I look forward to doing these with you all.
Great. Someone that finally likes it, at least. I'm just kidding. Awesome. Bob, any final notes from you, sir?
No, sir. We covered a lot, and I appreciate you coming in today, especially with the pets and the holidays. I don't know if we're going to air this like Bo said, before or after the holidays, but all this, everybody will gather something out of that, take it home with them, for sure. Might be a poinsettia deal, or might be putting a little kid's hand out in front of the dog, thinks they're cute doing that, wrong thing to do. And all of us need that at once in a while, the refreshers. Don't be doing it. And why that all started, put your hand out in front of it, make sure the dog's friendly about it. What if the dog's not friendly when you do that?
Right.
Then now you have a child scarred for life that'll never, and I don't mean physically scarred, mentally scarred, that I don't want to get around a dog.
Absolutely.
I ran into a lady the other night, getting off the subject here, and the first thing she says, I have no problem with Chase, but I have a phobia since I was a kid. And I sat with her, and Chase played with her back and forth a little bit, and I said, where did that start from? I got bitten when I was 3. So a lot of that we don't realize that happens. So when you put the little hand out there, that's not the right thing to be doing.
Absolutely.
So I hope everybody will get something out of this for sure. I know I did today.
And if anybody's got questions, they can reach out. Right now, I'm doing free phone consultations. They typically run 15 to 20 minutes. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on with your dog.
That's how I first met you.
Yes, sir.
I called. I talked to your daughter. Daughter said, I'll have my dad call. You remember that?
Yeah.
And Jim came over, worked a little magic, and I was just like, why is Chase listening to this character? I don't know about this guy. I'm not really sure about this guy. 10 minutes later, I was like, I don't know what he's doing, but I've got to figure out what's going on here. Because you made Chase listen quick.
It's not magic. It's the right equipment, number one, as you know, and it's just learning how to communicate with your dog the easiest way. Eliminating a bunch of confusion, talking too much, just being very straightforward, making it easy for the dog. And again, then you end up with a dog that's not stressed, that, you have a nice, well-balanced dog. Starting early is key, too. And we do always have free in-person evaluations for veterans, police, and fire department.
Appreciate you, Jim.
Appreciate you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, thank you for joining us for another episode of Light Sprinklers Action. We'll see you all next time.